Emily Carter's hands trembled as she folded the bill again and again until the paper was soft at the edges. $47,000. The number glared at her in bold black type, like a sentence written across her kitchen table. The small apartment was silent except for the hum of the old refrigerator. Outside, Dallas traffic rushed on, horns and engines faint through the thin walls. Inside, Emily sat hunched over the bill, her 10-month-old son Noah asleep in the crib beside the window. His tiny chest rose and fell beneath a worn blue blanket, the only steady rhythm in her world. She had just finished her second double shift that week at the diner. 16 hours on her feet pouring coffee, smiling through exhaustion. The tips barely covered diapers and formula. Rent was already late, and now this. Her phone slipped in her damp palm. She typed quickly, almost blindly. "I don't know what to do. They sent me the bill. Please, I need your help." She attached a photo of the page, the cruel number stamped across it. Her cousin worked at the hospital. Maybe he could explain, maybe he could help. Her thumb pressed send before doubt could stop her. Then silence. She stared at the screen, waiting for the dots of a reply. Nothing came. She let out a shaky breath, unaware that the message had not gone where she thought. Ryan Mitchell sat alone in his penthouse suite, papers spread across the glass table like fragments of a puzzle only he could solve. The city stretched beneath him, Manhattan glowing cold and restless, headlights threading the streets like veins of fire. On the tray beside him, a glass of scotch remained untouched, the ice long since melted. He had just closed a $1.5 billion deal. The numbers should have thrilled him. Instead, the room felt hollow, the silence thick. He checked his watch. 11:38 p.m. Another contract signed. Another empire absorbed. Another night of victory that tasted like ash. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. A photo filled the screen. A hospital bill. Total balance due. $47,000. At the top, a name. St. Gabriel Children's Hospital. Beneath it, the patient's name, Noah Carter. Ryan froze. Noah. The name struck him with the force of a physical blow. His own son, his only child, had borne the same name. 10 months old when he lost him. 10 months, 13 days. He remembered the hospital corridors, the antiseptic smell, the muted beeping that had paced his nights. He remembered holding a small knit cap in his hands after the room went quiet. He sat heavily, the phone trembling between his fingers. The message above the photo was raw, desperate. "I don't know what to do. Please, I need your help." A mistake, clearly. A wrong number. But why St. Gabriel? Why Noah? The coincidence scraped open wounds he had buried deep beneath polished steel and routine. A second buzz. Another message. "I'm sorry. Sent to the wrong person. Please ignore this." His throat tightened. He should ignore it. He had rules. No personal requests, no exceptions. His foundation handled thousands of pleas every month through careful channels. He never answered messages like this. To engage was to invite chaos. But still, his eyes lingered on the screen. The bill, the name, the ghost of a life cut short. He stood, pacing to the window. Outside, snow flurried faintly through the night sky, catching in the floodlights of neighboring towers. His reflection stared back at him. Sharper cheekbones than he remembered, hair streaked with silver. 40, though some days it felt like 80. For years he had trained himself not to believe in signs. Markets moved on logic, not fate. Fortune was made by precision, not coincidence. And yet here it was. The same hospital, the same name, arriving uninvited in the palm of his hand. Ryan lowered himself back into the chair and placed the phone flat on the table. He stared at the photo until the numbers blurred. His chest ached. Not with grief this time, but with something stranger. An impulse he had not felt in years. He picked up the phone again. His thumb hovered, this time not over delete, but over reply. At last, slowly, he began to type. Ryan stared at the blinking cursor, the phone heavy in his palm. A wrong number should have meant nothing. He could have deleted it, forgotten it, gone back to contracts and numbers that behaved as expected. but his chest carried a weight that logic could not dissolve. He poured himself another scotch and didn't drink it. The glass stayed on the table, untouched like all the other comforts that no longer comforted. Instead, he scrolled again to the top of the photo. St. Gabriel Children's Hospital. His pulse tightened. That was where he had spent his final days as a father, days blurred with fear, sterile hallways, and the sound of machines that had failed to save his son. He whispered the name under his breath. Noah. The room seemed to echo it back. He could almost see him again. 10 months old, cheeks flushed, eyes too tired to cry. He remembered the way his tiny hand curled around Ryan's finger, the way his breath caught before fading into silence. In that moment years ago, Ryan had sworn never to feel anything again, never to allow his heart to be pried open by hope or chance. And yet here it was, hope and chance, arriving in the form of a stranger's desperate plea. The second message lingered too. Sorry, wrong number. He read it as apology but also as surrender. Whoever had sent it wasn't expecting help. They had simply reached out into the void and been embarrassed by their mistake. He knew he should let it go. He had spent years perfecting detachment. His empire depended on it. The fewer emotional entanglements, the smoother the deals. Investors trusted his cold precision. That was why he was at the top. That was why no one could touch him. But tonight, detachment cracked. He saw not just the hospital name, not just the bill, but the name scrawled in that cruel typeface, Noah Carter. And he wondered, for the first time in years, what if the wrong number wasn't wrong at all? He set the phone down and walked to the window. Manhattan glowed like an endless grid, but he felt alone in it. Beyond the glass, snowflakes turned slowly in the updraft, catching light, vanishing before they touched the street. He touched the cold surface, his reflection splitting across the pane. One face, two halves, the man he had built and the man he had buried. He turned back. The phone was still waiting. Ryan exhaled, picked it up, and typed carefully. This may be a mistake, but I'm going to help. For a moment he stared at the words, fingers frozen, unsure if he could follow through. But his thumb pressed send before he could retreat. The message left. Gone. His heart kicked hard in his chest, an unfamiliar rhythm. Fear, maybe, or relief. He leaned back in the chair and covered his eyes with one hand. What had he just done? The phone buzzed almost instantly. A pause. Then another message appeared. Who is this? Ryan looked at the question, simple and wary. He did not answer right away. Instead, he closed his eyes, breathing slowly, remembering the small voice that once called him Daddy. For years he had thought his story with Noah ended in that hospital room. Maybe tonight it began again, in a different way. Emily's phone lit the dark room like a small, insistent moon. Noah snuffled in his sleep, one hand flung through the crib rails, fingers opening and closing around nothing. The message sat there, impossible. This may be a mistake, but I'm going to help. She stared until the words blurred. A wrong number. A stranger. The apartment smelled faintly of dish soap and baby shampoo. The refrigerator hummed and clicked. Somewhere down the hall, a neighbor laughed too loudly at a sitcom. Emily pressed a palm to her sternum as if she could quiet the drum in her chest. The phone vibrated again, this time with a call. Unknown caller washed across the cracked screen. She almost let it ring out. Then she swiped. Hello. A man's voice measured, low, East Coast polish wrapped in exhaustion. Is this Emily Carter? The way he said her name made her throat tighten. Who is this? Ryan Mitchell. Silence pressed in. I don't know any. I know you don't. A soft exhale as if he were choosing each word. You sent me a message by mistake. About the hospital bill. Emily's mouth went dry. I'm sorry. I meant to text my cousin. I'm so. You don't need to apologize, he said gently. A beat. How is Noah? At the name, she looked at the crib. Sleeping, she whispered. For now. Good. He paused again, like a man stepping carefully across ice. Emily, I'm going to take care of the bill from St. Gabriel. And more than that, I've already instructed my office to establish a trust in your son's name. $2 million to start. Emily's hand tightened around the phone until the plastic creaked. That's not funny. It isn't a joke. You don't know me. People don't just... Her breath snagged. She sunk into the lone kitchen chair, its leg wobbling. Who are you? Quiet on the line. Then, search me. Her thumb moved before her mind did. Ryan Mitchell Finance into the search bar. Articles filled the screen. Photos of a man in a dark suit. Headlines about acquisitions, interviews. She scrolled, heart rising into her throat. Same jawline, same eyes, the same name. She swallowed. That's you. Yes. The floor seemed to tilt. Why would you help us? He was silent long enough for her to hear a faint current behind him, air vents, the faraway hush of a city not sleeping. When he spoke, his voice had something raw in it. Because once, a child named Noah taught me what money can't do, and what it still can. Emily stared at the bill on the table, the black block of numbers like an accusation. I don't understand trusts. I don't understand any of this. You don't need to tonight, he said. My counsel will call you in the morning to explain everything in plain language. For now, I'm covering the surgery balance and a year of related care. I'll have the hospital post-confirmation within the hour. Within the how? The question came out smaller than she meant. A hint of a smile moved through his voice and was gone. It's what I'm good at. Her eyes stung. I can't accept. I'm grateful. But it's too much. It isn't, he said. It's enough. She pressed her forehead to her knuckles, breath shaking. Noah stirred, sighed, went still. People always want something, she said, barely audible. There's always a catch. There isn't, he answered. But there is one request. Let me see you both. Tonight. The word struck like cold water. Tonight. I'm in New York, he said. I can be in Dallas before 3. My team can have a driver meet me at Love Field. If you're uncomfortable, we meet in a public place. If you'd rather I don't come at all, you say so and I won't. A pause. I'd prefer to come to you. You've had enough fluorescent lights. Emily looked at the window where the blinds cut the street lamp into stripes across the crib. The idea of opening her door to a stranger, any stranger, sent a ripple of fear through her. But something else moved under it. A steadiness in his tone, an absence of pressure. She could hear a man holding grief away from the microphone. My building isn't. It's not. She glanced at the peeling paint, the stove burner that clicked and never lit. Shame rose, hot and useless. I'm not coming to appraise your life, Ryan said quietly. I just want to look at your son and tell you this isn't going to break you. The words loosened something in her chest she hadn't recognized as clenched. She wiped her cheek with the heel of her hand. What if this is a scam and I've just Googled the wrong man with the right name? She said, trying for light and failing. You could text your cousin at the hospital and ask if a payment posts, he said. Or hang up, call my office switchboard, ask to be routed to me. Or you can say no. Emily listened to the line breathe. In the crib, Noah's thumb found his mouth. The small, wet sound undid her. If you come, you don't wake him. I won't. And you don't bring, I don't know, cameras, people. I'll come with one driver. No one else. She exhaled, slow and shaky. Okay. Text me your address, he said softly. I'll send you the payment confirmation when it clears. You don't need to wait up. I'm already up, she said, and heard the tired smile in her own voice. Ryan. Yes. Why me? He was quiet a long moment. When he answered, the words were simple. Because the message reached me. A breath, then the line clicked off. Emily sat in the soft roar of the refrigerator and the far-off television down the hall, the phone warm in her hand. She typed her address, erased it, typed again, sent. A few minutes later, her screen lit. A hospital portal screenshot with a green check and the word paid. She put a hand over her mouth. The number that had been a verdict became a 0. She looked at Noah. His lashes lay dark on his cheeks, the universe breathing in a borrowed crib. Emily stood, lifted the wobbling chair to keep it from scraping, and moved to the window. Outside, a siren flickered and faded. She pressed her palm to the cold glass, then to her heartbeat, as if to keep both steady. When the phone buzzed again, it was only 4 words. Wheels up in 10. She turned off the kitchen light. The apartment dropped into soft blue. She sat on the floor beside the crib, back against the wall, and closed her eyes, not to sleep, but to hold the moment still until the next one arrived. The knock came just after 2 in the morning. Emily froze where she sat on the floor beside the crib. Noah stirred faintly, his small lips parting around the thumb tucked in his mouth. She rose carefully, every step slow, and moved toward the door. Through the peephole she saw only the dim corridor light and a tall shadow. Her phone buzzed. A text from Ryan. "It's me. Driver's with me. No one else." Her hand hesitated on the lock. The apartment was small, and everything about it felt suddenly visible. The peeling linoleum, the chipped paint on the door frame, the sagging couch. Shame prickled her skin. Then Noah let out a soft sigh, and she knew she couldn't keep waiting. The door opened on a tall man in a dark overcoat, snow still clinging to his shoulders. Behind him stood a driver, respectfully still, hands clasped. Ryan's eyes met hers, blue-gray, tired, but steady. "Emily," he said softly, as though her name itself needed care. She stepped back. "Come in." He entered without looking around too much, though his gaze inevitably touched on the narrow kitchen. The small table with its wobbling chair, the crib by the window with Noah inside. Ryan stopped near the crib. He lowered himself slowly, knees bent as if afraid the floor might creak too loud. For a long moment he just looked. Noah shifted, his fingers opening, closing, then went still again. His cheeks glowed faintly pink with sleep. Ryan's throat moved once, twice, before he found words. "He looks strong." Emily folded her arms, uncertain. "He is." Ryan glanced back at her. In the dim light, his face seemed older than the photographs she had seen online. Not harder, just worn in ways money couldn't protect. "You work double shifts?" he asked quietly. "Yes." "Alone?" "Yes." The silence stretched. It was not the silence of strangers. It was the silence of 2 people standing at an edge neither had expected to reach. Ryan finally rose. "Mistakes happen for a reason," he said, almost as if to himself. "Your message, it wasn't wrong." Emily swallowed. "I don't understand why you're doing this." He met her gaze. For once, there was no polished answer, no practiced line. "Because I can. Because I couldn't before." Something flickered in her chest. An instinct to press further, to ask who he meant, what story sat behind that shadow. But Noah stirred, and the moment folded closed like paper. Ryan stepped back, signaling subtly to his driver to remain outside. "I won't stay long. I just needed to see with my own eyes that he's safe." Emily nodded, though her body still buzzed with disbelief. He pulled a slim envelope from his coat. "This isn't charity. Think of it as oxygen. Enough to breathe until the bakery idea becomes more than a dream." Her lips parted. "I never, how did you? You said it at dinner in another life," he said softly, a half smile that wasn't quite a smile. "We'll talk tomorrow. Tonight, just rest." She took the envelope, its weight far heavier than paper. Her hand shook. "Ryan." But he was already moving toward the door. He paused once more, looking back at the crib. His expression was unreadable, except for the gentleness in his eyes. Then he left, the door closing with a quiet click. Emily stood still, the envelope pressed to her chest, the hum of the refrigerator filling the silence. She glanced at Noah, his tiny body steady beneath the blanket, unaware that the world had just shifted. She sank into the chair and opened the envelope. Inside lay a cashier's check, the numbers startling, dizzying. Not millions, but enough to erase the bill, enough to give her room to breathe. Her hand went to her mouth. Tears slid without warning. She pressed the check flat on the table, smoothed it with trembling fingers, then looked again at her sleeping son. "Sometimes mistakes happen for a reason," she whispered, echoing his words into the quiet. And for the first time in months, the room felt lighter. The invitation came by text the next afternoon, brief and precise. Dinner tonight. Quiet place. Bring Noah if you'd like. R. Emily reread it 3 times before setting the phone down beside the half-folded laundry on her couch. Part of her wanted to refuse, say she was too busy, too tired, too wary. But another part, the part that hadn't stopped thinking about the man who stood in her apartment at 2 in the morning, whispered, "Go." By 6, she had bundled Noah into his stroller, wrapped in his soft blue blanket. The cab Ryan sent was already waiting, the driver polite but silent, carrying her bag as if it weighed more than it did. The restaurant was tucked away on a quiet Dallas street, far from neon diners and late-night bars. Its windows glowed with warm light, not bright but golden, like a place meant for conversation instead of spectacle. Inside, candles flickered on every table. The scent of rosemary and bread drifted in the air. Ryan stood as she entered. He wasn't in a suit tonight, only a dark sweater and slacks, his posture still precise but softened. His eyes went first to Noah, then to her. He smiled, small, restrained, but real. "Emily." "Ryan." Her voice carried both hesitation and relief. The host led them to a corner table by a window. Ryan pulled out a chair for her, then crouched to adjust Noah's stroller himself, careful as though the baby were made of glass. "He's even smaller than I imagined," Ryan murmured, almost to himself. "But fierce, I can tell." Emily gave a cautious smile. "He didn't cry once on the way here. That's rare." The waiter approached, but Ryan waved him off politely. "Give us a few minutes." Emily looked around. "This place, it's beautiful. I've never—" She stopped, embarrassed. "You don't have to explain," Ryan said quietly. "I wanted somewhere quiet. No noise, no cameras, no one watching." She nodded, grateful. For a while, they sat in the soft light, Noah gurgling once before drifting back to sleep. Ryan spoke first. "Tell me what you dream about." Emily blinked. "Dream?" "Yes," he said simply. "Not survival. Not bills. The thing you pushed aside because life demanded everything else." Her hands curled on the table. "That's not a fair question." "Maybe not. But answer it anyway." She let out a breath. Her voice dropped, fragile. "I used to bake. Cakes, bread, pies. My mom taught me. When I was in high school, I thought maybe, just maybe, I could open a bakery. A little place with windows full of bread in the morning, coffee brewing. I even had a name." Ryan leaned forward. "What was it?" "Noah's Table." She laughed softly, shaking her head. "Ridiculous, right? I thought it sounded like a place where people could belong, like a family table. But then I got pregnant. And then," she gestured helplessly, "life. Now I just make muffins for the diner if the cook calls in sick." Ryan's expression didn't change much, but something flickered in his eyes. "That's not ridiculous. That's vision." "Vision doesn't pay rent," Emily said. "No," Ryan agreed. "But sometimes belief does. And structure. And help." Her throat tightened. "What are you saying?" He folded his hands, precise even in casual clothes. "I'm offering not just money, Emily. I've spent my life building companies, mentoring people who had ideas but no path. You have a path. I can help you walk it." She shook her head instantly. "No, that's too much. You've already done more than anyone should. I can't be some project you feel sorry for." Ryan's gaze sharpened. "You're not a project. You're a person with talent who got cornered by circumstance. There's a difference." The words hit her harder than she expected. She stared at the tablecloth, the candlelight blurring. "I don't know if I could handle failing again." Ryan's voice softened. "Failure doesn't end you. Not trying does." Emily laughed, watery, shaking her head. "You sound like some motivational speaker." "I sound like a man who watched the most important thing slip away and realized money meant nothing without purpose." His voice caught just slightly, then steadied. "Don't mistake this for charity, Emily. Think of it as an investment in you, in Noah, in the place you described. A table where people can belong." Her breath wavered. For a moment, she could see it. Flour dust in sunlight, bread cooling on racks, customers laughing at tables while Noah toddled between chairs. The image hurt almost as much as it healed. "Why me?" she whispered. Ryan leaned back, his gaze never leaving hers. "Because fate doesn't usually knock twice. And when it does, I've learned not to ignore it." The waiter returned quietly, setting down warm bread and 2 glasses of water. Neither touched it. Emily wiped her eyes quickly, embarrassed. "I can't promise I won't fail." Ryan gave the faintest smile. "Then we fail together. But we don't stop." For the first time since she had held that bill in her kitchen, Emily felt something unfamiliar curl inside her chest. Hope, fragile but alive. Noah stirred in his stroller, yawning, his tiny fists stretching open. Ryan glanced at him, then back at her. "Shall we start planning tomorrow?" he asked softly. Emily looked at her son, then at the man across from her. Her voice trembled, but her answer was steady. "Yes." The sign above the door read Noah's table. Morning sunlight lit the letters, and the smell of fresh bread drifted into the street. Inside, the cafe buzzed with soft conversation, the clink of cups, the warmth of something new already feeling like it belonged. Emily stood behind the counter, apron dusted with flour. Her son toddled between tables, his laugh carrying above the hum of voices. Her parents sat near the window, stunned, pride written plainly on their faces. Lily snapped photos on her phone, laughing through tears. Emily allowed herself a long breath. For months she had lived in fear of falling, of bills that grew faster than hope. Now the tables were full, the shelves stacked with bread and pies. The name she once whispered as a dream now etched in steel above the door. At a quiet table in the corner, Ryan sat with a simple cup of coffee. No entourage, no headlines, just him watching. Their eyes met, and he lifted his cup in a small salute. Emily walked over. "You came," she said softly. "I wouldn't miss it." His gaze moved across the cafe. "This isn't mine, Emily. This is yours." She shook her head. "You gave me the chance. That's more than anyone ever did." Ryan's eyes softened. "Sometimes chance is all we need." Noah spotted him then, wriggling from his aunt's arms, toddling unsteadily toward the table. Ryan crouched low, hands steady. Noah reached for him, small fingers wrapping around his. Emily watched, something tight in her chest loosening at last. In that quiet moment, her son's hand in Ryan's, sunlight warming the walls, she understood. What had begun as a wrong number was never a mistake at all. It was the beginning.